I found it interesting for several reasons. The first reason, as the headlines and probably most of the places that you see will tell you, is that Britain is now officially ranked as the unhappiest that it has ever been. Right? Because
I think, on the list.
23rd. We're 23rd on this year's list.
Despite being the 6th richest nation, apparently.
Despite being the 6th richest nation. Now, just for context, let's go back in history and have a look. So, in 2020, Britain was 13th place.
Okay.
And that's the highest it's ever been.
Okay.
Right? So, 2020, for some reason, was a good year for Britons.
Because it was COVID time. People were at home.
It was just at the beginning of COVID.
Nobody had to work.
Yeah, it was just it was at the beginning of COVID when everything
don't like
was
working.
Still... All right.
Well, have you been at home?
Okay, so 2020 was we're 13th place. That's the highest we've ever
Everyone
been.
was it fellow?
2021 we're 17th place.
Of course, we're back to
Same with 2022, 17th place. So those 2 years we maintained our place. 2023 we went down to 19th.
Of course.
2024, we dropped down to 20th. And then 2025, the lowest we've ever been. 2023, I think I put that down wrong. But 2023.
2025, 23rd.
Sorry, yeah, 2025, we're 23rd on the list, right? So we're clearly dropping down in the rankings. So I guess first and foremost, why do you think Britain is becoming so unhappy? Why do you think we keep dropping on the happiness scale?
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to do something I've never done before here, which is you use my brain to think properly and try to analyze this properly as normal human beings would. But I'm seeing a trend here. I'm seeing something, right? You started your rankings from 2020 and you're saying that was the highest it's ever been, right? At 13th place. And that was the COVID time, the time that COVID was hitting, isn't it? So I don't know what resulted to us being 13th in 2020. By that I mean I don't know what were we in 2019. Do we know?
I'm sure we do know. I can find out if it's pertinent.
I wanted to know if it's gone up or if it's gone down, because what I'm seeing is that.
Well, I mean, 2020 was the highest we've ever been. That's why I started from 2020.
Oh, of course. So it means that we went up.
2019.
From what? From when? From what? Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, yeah, go on. I'll find it.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking that is because if you realize what's happened, COVID disrupted the way the world worked and what we thought about maybe what's important and what matters and things like that. Yeah, it disrupted it in a way that a majority of the country, except the essential workers, found themselves at home not working. Right? I want to believe that brought certain thoughts to people's minds about what it means to be alive or about what they were doing in their life. I think it brought certain meaningful questions to people's minds that made them evaluate the way that they were living. You know, that for those that were on full-on working or things like that, it put an abrupt sort of like end to that kind of life. They had to think about certain things. And I'm seeing that they did not like the answers of those thoughts.
What were the answers?
I don't know.
Why can you solve that and not say the answers?
I'm seeing that they did not like the answers because the answers were not good. I'm thinking that, let's say I'm a young man. Let's say I think this is the way to live. Let's say I believe this is the right thing to do. I do this. I'm going to end up here. COVID comes, cuts everything. Now I find myself in the house for a whole year with my own thoughts. You know, I'm lonely. I never once thought about getting in touch with my family. I never once thought about friendships. I never once thought about relationships and whatnot. Now suddenly I'm by myself, and now suddenly I'm looking at my life, reanalyzing everything. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty miserable. I'm pretty lonely. I thought career was everything. Career is not everything, you know. Now I'm seeing that the preceding years were just a knock-on effect of that. People trying to pick themselves up, but in a different way. Those that concluded the right way. They are trying to rebuild life, but in a different way. So I feel like we are still in that process. And that's why if you do the surveys now, that's why people are saying, actually, no, I'm unhappy. Because what I like is that it says, despite being the 6th richest nation, You see, so one can argue that for the majority, it may not even be about wealth or about I'm in poverty or I'm not. You see what I mean? But life have been disrupted. Now people don't have meaning in life anymore because something happened that shook their world. Now they have to think again.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're saying the reason why the UK is getting less unhappy is because of the pandemic.
It's because of the pandemic made them rethink about what matters in life. And I'm thinking people have found themselves very lonely, which has brought on anxieties, depressions, mental disorders or diseases. Those that are fortunate enough, I want to believe they're trying to now build relationships. I want to believe people are now seeking maybe activities, to be doing, to trying to go out in the nation because they've realized what I was doing before wasn't it. Whereas I thought it was it wasn't it. You see? So I think that's what's happened in the UK. I really think the pandemic opened the nation's eyes, and now people are thinking family is important, friendships are important, communities are important, but all those are nowhere to be found now.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that analysis.
No, but I'm being serious about it.
I know you're being serious about it, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if I agree with the analysis.
What do you think has happened?
But I understand the analysis, and it is fair enough. It's a reasonable hypothesis. So it's not wild. So I'm not here saying that that's such a wild thing. No. It's reasonable. I just don't think. For me, it's. I mean, ultimately, I think the reason we're the same reason. I just don't think the pandemic is the thing that set it off. I think we're always destined to end up at a place where people realize actually the life that we're living is meaninless because I think that's what we agree with. Or you're saying the pandemic caused them to realize that. And for a lot of people, that's true. I don't know if it's true on a general nationwide, but it doesn't matter. Ultimately, we're on the same place, which is the meaningless of the Western life is starting to hit people. And it is that when they're realizing, actually, there might be more to life than I thought there was.
There's actually no living in the UK for most people. I've been fortunate enough to find myself in the present.
But the thing is, it's for most people, it's by choice.
Okay, so that's the thing. The thing about by choice, what some people will by choice decide that, but at the same time, maybe may not realize that it's a choice or may have to make the hard decision to do that because that's what they need to do at that particular time, which doesn't then mean that the reality of there's no living in the UK is not a fair statement.
No. So what I mean by choice is, I mean, if you say people may not realize it's by choice, then that's good because it's even more pertinent that I tell people it's by choice. You can have the choice. But mainly what I mean by choice is if I decide to spend my life chasing to be let's say a doctor, let's say a doctor or a lawyer. We're gonna use women only because they're an easier case study. I'm not saying it's just for them, but they're an easier case study, right? So if I'm a woman, and I'm deciding to dedicate my life to becoming a lawyer because I believe my worth is in my career, what I can produce or whatever, and I neglect having a family, having children, building relationships with other women and whatnot, then that's a choice I have made. Does that make sense? I have made, it's a wrong choice, or I would say it's the wrong choice. It's not the great choice, but it's a choice I have made. At any point of the journey, it's not this easy, but my point is at any point during the journey, I can be like, oh, you know what? Let me change course, right? Let me not do this. Let me turn around and do this. And my point is, a lot of people in the UK have the ability to do that, to stop, change course, and pursue a more meaningful life.
Two questions I would ask to you then is one, why is that particular woman in that case study deciding to become a lawyer or a doctor? And two, why would that same particular woman later on change course? Or decide, actually, I need to change course. What's happened there?
They're deciding to pursue a career and money and whatnot because well, primarily that's what society is telling them to do, but then also because the thing is, the good thing about society is that we come across alternative views, right? There's a reason why we have a feminist movement. Why is that? Because there's women that think a certain way, and they have convinced other women to think that way. Just because you believe in an ideology or a way of life, you can't abdicate responsibility from yourself. So yeah, you can say, oh no, but society is telling them that. Yeah, great, but we're humans. We have agency, because otherwise nobody's responsible for anything.
100%. In that case, I would agree with what you're saying 100%. And this is why statements like "there's no living in the Western world" or in the UK will come about, because it's a statement that is acknowledging the society that we live in. Now, most people, unfortunately, they're finding themselves victims to the society. The society will tell people, you need to be independent. You don't need a man. You don't need a family. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be all that. Chase all that. You don't need to have children. Whoever say you need to have children, that's what's feeding the young girls that are growing up like that. So they are becoming victims of that. And at the point that they're realizing, and those that are fortunate can change course. Those that are unfortunate, it's either too late to change course, or even if they do change course, if let's say talk about family for now, maybe it's too old for them to have children. Now it's nothing but regret. You see, so that's why those statements come up, and that's why, like you would always say, it's important to have these conversations so that those that are in that process now or about to start that process now realize that actually, although there are multiple ways that we're being taught to live, technically, according to the Creator, there is one right way to live. He intended for man and woman to be joined and have a family, a unit, and then do your exploits and whatnot,
So then, let me move on to some stats that I found rather interesting. Okay, so the first two countries on the list, do you want to guess what they were?
I think I saw. Oh no, I didn't see that.
No, I don't think so.
First two countries, unhappiest. Happiest. They would have to be African countries, I'd imagine. Are they African countries?
You tell me.
No, help me, direct me. I usually get two or three questions with these guessing games.
Okay, no, they're not African countries. I mean,
Barbados.
No.
Okay, I have no idea. Let's go on. What is it?
All right, so that was a terrible guessing round. It's a terrible guesser.
You didn't
but
give me
okay,
any hints.
So the first two countries are Finland and Denmark. And Finland is actually, this is the 8th year that they've won the first that they've got first in terms of happiest.
Migration is a lot lower than the UK.
I actually don't look into migration numbers, but that would be an interesting stat actually. Isn't
that Denmark or Poland that were proud of the fact that they didn't let in a lot of immigrants, and they were saying that I don't really care what you're saying, because if you look at the people that voted me in office, they are happy with what I'm doing, that is to make sure that we don't let strangers in.
Oh, well, it's controlled in. I have no issue with that. But okay, it's an interesting stat. It's not the one that caught my attention though. What did catch my attention is that 63% of Finnish people, of all Finns, are reported to be part of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Finland. So this is like the state church, like the Church of England, for example, right? So 63% of all Finns have marked to say that we are a part of this church, right? Compared to 72% of Danish people, Denmark people, 72% who say they belong proudly to the Church of Denmark, Evangelical Church of Denmark, right? Compared to, obviously, I think it broke the news when it happened, but UK is now below 50%. But compared to 56% of the UK who still acknowledge that they are the part of the Church of England or the evangelical equivalent, right? So what really interested me is, do you think the fact that Christianity is declining in the UK is playing a part in how unhappy we're becoming as a nation?
In order to answer that properly, we would have to look at least one connection between Christianity and happiness. So in the first two countries...
I've got a few for you.
Yeah, so in the first two countries, what is it about being part of the Finnish or Danish sort of like...
It's just church. Don't get caught up with... It's just like Church of England.
I know. So what is it about being a Christian, of these nations? What is it about it that affects their morale or happiness.
I mean, this is a link I'm making. So they're not saying Finland is number one because 63% are Christians.
I get that.
No, I just found it interesting that the top two countries in which happiness is what they're reporting being the happiest are two countries that actually have a few of the highest Christian
because
population.
If you're going to be very critical, you could say 56 and 63 are not far apart.
63 and 46. So
No.
UK is 46.
Oh, you said 56.
No, 46. UK is 46.
Oh, that is quite low.
Finland is 63. Denmark is 72.
Yeah, 46 is a bit low.
Right. But I mean, okay, fine. You've sort of gone into the next thought I had. So let's pop into that next thought, because the same happiness report highlighted a few things that stood out to them in terms of
the way of life in these two countries.
Why people are happy, right? So I like some of the things that they said in that in terms of Finland. They're wealthy, they're healthy, have social connections, social support, and a connection with nature. And then it says they're not happy, joyful, dancing in the street type of people, but they're very content with their lives, right? Now there was another.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You agree with what?
No, because the thing is that it's a really hard thing to grasp. But sometimes ambition can also be the detriment of people.
100%.
You see?
100%.
So, but in this country, for example, or let me say Western worlds, for example, the system is built where people are always trying to achieve more and better. Yeah. You hit this target, gets to the next target, and even in our conversation of being, let's say, masculinity or men or things like that, we touched on men need something to do and things. So we're almost presenting as if there's always a target to hit, always the next thing to go. Now, if we are not careful, that comes across as if you never reach, you never get enough, you never reach enough. Yeah. Now I've got this. Okay, what else can I do? Now the conversation is delicate because a man does always need purpose. Yeah. So I'm not saying that, okay, we need to get rid of this, there's always next thing, but there needs to be a healthy approach. And what I like is that they are content with their lives. That brings about a certain sense of peace, a certain sense of we are fine. It's almost like we've arrived. Yeah. People need to arrive on earth and start just living. It doesn't have to always be a journey. You see what I mean? Because where there's always a journey, there's always gonna be exhaustion, tiredness. I have my bones are now aching. Hey, I'm tired. You see what I mean? And where am I going? I think that's the biggest question. Where am I going? And what you notice about Christianity as well, and what I love about Christianity, especially the true gospel, is that it's not about we are going to be saved. It's we are saved. So even the gospel is we have arrived. That eternal rest, we have entered it. So instead of, oh my days, what am I doing? Oh, I need to go see the poor. Oh, I need to go this. It's actually, I'm in the kingdom now. So the same things you are doing, but now you're doing them from a point of, now that you're in the kingdom, there are certain things that we do. Today I went to evangelize that day prisoner. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. No, but I get it. And yeah, that's what I'm saying, that I agree with 100%. And I can already see the difference.
Now, some of the other things that they highlighted in this story were perceived generosity of others. So that is how generous do you think other people are? Apparently, that's a big indicator as to trying to figure out how happy you are as a person and also how happy the community is, right? So what you think, how nice you think others are. So they did this by asking people, for example, like, oh, if you dropped your wallet, how likely do you think you'd get it back, right? And obviously people would mark, blah, blah, based on how they think people would respond. And yeah, it's interesting. The countries that score highly on that, thinking, oh yeah, of course someone would return it, tend to be happier countries, as opposed to the ones that's like, oh no, that's a goner.
If I drop my wallet, at the point I realize I'm calling my bank, please cancel my credit card, cancel my card.
And it's fair enough. So the other thing as well is perceived level of corruption. in public services and businesses. So I guess how honest do you think other people are? How much integrity do you think other people have? That's a big indicator to how happy you are and also your community. But of course, the biggest one on top of all of that was social relationships, right? So the strength of your social relationships, how many people you know outside of your immediate either partner or like family or whatever. How many people do you actually know and have strong, decent relationships with outside of that? Big indicator of how happy people are. And one of the things they mentioned was about the fact that those people that the happiest recorded people are the ones that have a lot of regular meals with other people. I've always said that food with people is different.
Much better than by yourself.
Different.
Much
it is
better.
different. It's such an amazing atmosphere to be in, right? But so that's interesting because perceived generosity, perceived corruption, integrity of others, and social relationships. And I was like, isn't this are these three things that are sort of like automatic in Christianity? If you're a Christian, if you're practicing Christianity the way the Bible gives us, aren't these things that would be automatic anyway, like things that you wouldn't even have to think about? So for example, if you spend your time with Christian brothers or you have a good solid Christian community, of course you're gonna think people are generous. Like you wouldn't not think that, because you think, oh yeah, they believe what I believe, they think what I think, they're accountable to Jesus just as I am. Of course they're gonna be honest. And integrity and being corruption and stuff like that. You'd think, well, we're all Christians here. Who's going to be stealing from anybody? Is it? And obviously, social relationships. Do not forsake the assembly. We're taught to pray together. We're taught to eat. We're not taught to eat together, but we see situations in the Bible. They all came together. They were one accord.
Bread together.
Exactly. When they go together, bread as well.
Bread is eating.
So I was looking at this and I was thinking, like, if you want happiness, you're talking about Christianity.
The qualities that indicate people are other nations are happy are strongly linked to Christianity. And the fact that those two nations also are high on the Christianity spectrum can only lead to the fact that, well, if you want to be happy, be a Christian country.
I think it's a fair conclusion. Well, yeah. But also, just being a Christian in general, should that not make us a bit more contented then? So
100%.
It would be interesting to see this survey just done amongst Christians alone and see what kind of scores we would get back. Because I'm thinking as Christians, we should be content. We should definitely be generous, have integrity. We should definitely be spending time with others and stuff like that. I'm thinking, okay, look, salvation aside and the gospel aside, it's clearly a good blueprint for a happy life. So if nothing else, the word is just testifying to the fact that God has had the blueprint all along for 2,000 of years. I don't know. Listen,
according to the case study of Finland and Denmark,
I found it interesting. And the point is that obviously it seems like the Western world. So we were 23rd. America, the USA was 24th.
Oh,
so
dear.
at least we're happier than the US people. if nothing else, I don't know if that's any consolation.
Oh, it is.
At least we're happier than the Americans.
Because they're the rivals, aren't they?
but
at least we're happier than America.
It is interesting though that in places like America and the UK, who like to present themselves as the pinnacle of civilization and the pinnacle of worldwide. It's interesting how the people living in these countries are saying, yeah, life is not that great,
Or do you think they're just being ungrateful?
Confabulate.
Because sometimes the more you have, the more you think you should have more.
The more you think you should deserve. That is definitely a syndrome that people suffer from. I don't think that's the case in this case, but it's interesting. Listen, you let us know what you think about that. Confabulate in the comments below. Right. Shall we move on to a few quick fires then?
Yeah, let's
while we bring this to a close. All right.